Now go. Hey! Whoa. Hi. Hello, everyone. We're back for another week of, I forgot the name, not another BL podcast, as we watch Only Friends week to week. So, our special little thing we're doing. And it was episode 6 of Only Friends. And I'm Shannon, BL Gossip Girl, and I am found on all the social medias and Patreon. Next.
I'm Heatherly, Red is Trying, also found on all the social medias, Patreon and YouTube.
And I am Kelly, BL Chef, same as they said, Patreon and YouTube.
Is YouTube not a social media?
It is.
I don't know.
But I feel like it's special because it's all my long form versus my TikTok stuff gets posted everywhere, and that's all social media, so I don't know.
I see. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense.
Do we want to recap before you explode?
Okay. Red, would you like to recap?
I was asking the question, do we want to recap? Because basically it was just a lot. It was a lot.
I could do a real fast recap that will just blow everyone's mind. Okay.
Right,
so what happened was some bullshit. We begin with Top and Mew, okay? And they are like hanging out, having a nice time at a pool, and we learned a little bit about Mew's background. I was like, oh, this is so sweet. And then who comes after that? What happens after that? They're in school. And I was like, shit, that's very awkward. It was very awkward seeing them in school with their project, and their teacher tried to warn them, and their teacher was like, hey, maybe don't get into a business with friends like this. Y'all are very young. And that just went over everyone's head. And then flash forward to after that, it was the teachers. It was Boston and Nick. Boston and Nick are having a great time, and they're very cute. And then we find out that, like, well, we already knew it. Boston's a little hoe, and his hookup Gap. We learned his name.
Yeah.
Drake.
I was like, he has a name now versus just Drake. It will still be Drake for me.
I would still call him Drake.
I was like, Drake's here.
So Drake shows up. I mean, Gap shows up, and we're like, oh, you're the one who recorded Boston. And Boston was like drop dead. And then Nick is sitting there like, oh shit, that's my future. And then we skip forward again. And then now we're hanging out with who pops up after that? Huh?
Sand?
Sand.
No, Sand.
Oh, we're at the hospital. Sand's with his mom. Mom's in the hospital. He sees Top and Mew, and then he like gets into a little altercation with words with Top, and I was like, damn, like you guys, fuck. Okay, that was a lot. And then Sand is like, I'm gonna be a psycho, and I'm gonna stomp the shit out of my phone. And we were all like, why the hell are you doing that? Turns out he's doing that so that he can get access to Nick's phone, so that he can download the audio. By the way, Sand, I just want to say this: you might not have the perfect plan, but you have a successful plan, and that is something. So anyways, he gets the audio. Yes, exactly. He gets the audio, takes off, and we're like, what the fuck are you going to do with this audio? He goes to Ray, because of course that's not a bad idea. And then he gives the audio to Ray, and he's like, yeah, like, I just care about Mew. I was like, shut your fucking face. Anyways, so then we flash again. All right. And we've got now, where are we at in this? Is it the birthday party now? Now we're at the birthday. I feel like I missed something, but maybe I did.
No. Ray confronts Tom.
And Ray goes to Boston, and he's like, what the actual fuck are you doing? And then Boston whipped out some Boston logic and was like, hey, it wasn't one and done. It was, I would like another, and now they can be happy. Everyone's happy. And Ray was like, what the fuck did you just say? What? And then we're skipping ahead to the birthday, okay? And then we're at a birthday, which was like the awkwardest thing I have ever seen in my life. And someone to God needed to update Chom on what the fuck was going on, because that woman was just like, look, we all have a person. Look at your boyfriend. And Ray's like, that's not my fucking boyfriend. And I was like, for fuck's sake, Ray, get your shit together. Oh my God, no, we forgot about Boston. I messed up names. Boston and his dad and Nick. I forgot that one. So we get to Boston and his dad and Nick, and learned a lot about Boston. Thanks, Dad. So anyways, so then we have that. And then also, I'm like, Nick, you need to go somewhere else because you are too invested. And I swear to God, if you start tutoring Boston, to make sure that he passes his college courses so that he will stay here. We're going to have issues. And then, of course, Nick was just like, I am going to ignore everything because that has worked well for me so far. Now, we're going to go. Now we're at the birthday party, okay? Where it's just the awkwardest shit ever. And then Top is like, I made you this really great gift, Mew. Here it is. And he had like drawn moments of Mew throughout the time they've been together, and it was really sweet. And Mew was like, thank you. Is this handmade? It's handmade. Okay. That was Mew's reaction to that fucking gift. And then Chuam, someone needs to update her on shit, because this was what she did. She was looking at Boston. She's like, oh, is that your boyfriend? Boston was like, he's not my fucking boyfriend. I was like, for fuck's sake. Oh my God. Nick, please. Something. And then they're like, yeah, we all have a partner except Ray. And Ray's like, yeah, because of fucking Boston. He's like,
that was mean.
It was awful. And Ray's just sitting there throwing back drinks, right? Because that has always ended well. And he's just throwing back drinks and all this kind of stuff. And then they move. Then they're in the bathroom. And then Ray comes out of the bathroom stall and Mew is like, dude, were you getting high? And Ray is just like, I was not getting high. And then they have a little conversation, right? And then it seems all good. And then Ray's like, I liked you when you had glasses. And I was like, this is actually heartbreaking. And Mew was like, yeah, this me is way better, dude. And so then we like skip ahead. And now they're dancing and everything seems weird. Everything seems really weird. We don't know what's going on. And then someone let Ray get the mic. Why did Sand lock down your fucking mic? Okay? Why? You know what?
What's that? Standing like near the mic when he grabbed the mic, so he was like, already singing.
I love all the parallels.
It is a lot of parallels. It's that TikTok sound, or it's not. It's from Phineas and Ferb, where it's like, if I had 2 nickels, if we had 2 nickels for every time someone has taken Sam's mic and said some bullshit, we would have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's weird. Weird. Okay? So we're just going to put that out there. And then what happens is Ray was like, you know what? Everyone was like, oh, Boston can't see any of his friends happy. And I was like, really? I don't really feel like that. And then Ray was like, no, fuck that bitch. I don't want to see any of my friends happy. And he was like, I'm looking at you, lesbians. How dare you be happy, okay? You guys haven't done shit to anyone. Yeah.
He started with the lesbians. I was like, whoa. It wasn't even collateral damage. He started there. I was like, God damn.
Lesbians first.
You're like, how dare you all be having a great time off in your own ways, not even like being awful to me, nothing. I am going to blow up your whole relationship.
April targeted him.
Okay, April did a little, but also he was like, fuck you and your mom and your dog. He was like, oh, screw all of you. And then he's like, oh, and Boston. And I was like, oh, this is not going to end well. And then it was weird because he didn't really target Boston. He targeted Nick. He did things that would hurt Nick. And I was like, damn. And then at that point, Sand is like, you know what, Ray? Maybe you shouldn't have the mic. I was like, y'all are just going to let the lesbians suffer. And this is when you interfere. And then Ray's like, no. Fuck you. I'm going to say what I want. It is my time to shine, because everyone knows letting the high out of his mind guy who's also drunk just go to town on everyone's relationship is going to end well. So then what happens is he starts going in about Mew, and he's like, I'm going to translate what Ray said to Mew. I love you. I will never not love you. I will love you till the end of time. And it's okay if you don't love me. It's okay. But you better find someone who will love you the way I do. Okay, now that we've translated. And then he goes to Top and he's like, and fuck you, bitch, because you're not me and you don't love him like I would love him. I'm like, Ray? And then Top is like, what the fuck did I even do to you? Why do you act this way to me? And then Ray is like, I'll tell you what he did to me. And then Mew is like, oh, hell no. And Mew punches him. And we're all like, what is even happening? Ray leaves, everything's chaos, and Sand is like, no, Ray, don't drive drunk, don't get in this car. And Ray is like, you whore, you prostitute, what if I pay you a little bit of money? Huh? Then what? And I was like, the fuck is wrong with you, Ray? And then he leaves. And then we have Top and Mew who go back to their little apartment thing. And Mew, I'm like, why the fuck does this man look happy? Why is he smiling? Why is he smiling? And he's not like happy. And he's like, you know what? This is like a really nice night. And I'm going to light a candle and I'm going to set a mood. And this was like the most memorable, special birthday for me. And I was like, someone needs, I can't prove it, but I feel like he should probably be evaluated by professionals. And then he's like, I want one more thing from you, Top. And in my mind, I was like, oh, he's going to ask him why Ray hates him. And then instead he was like undoing buttons. And I was like, this did not go the way I expected. And so then, they're now on the bed and all this stuff. And and Mew's like, you know what I really like, Top? You know what I like? When you make those noises during sex. And at this point I went,
Yep.
And that's when I went, who the fuck are you? Who are you? And then
hold his arms down.
He kept pulling his audio, all stuff, and then he played the audio, guys, that motherfucking audio. And then we found out that Ray told Mew when they were in the bathroom. He's like, you need to see this. Here's this audio. And that means that Mew knew. He knew. Okay. And then, he's back there and Top's like, oh my God, let me explain. And then Top explained nothing. Okay. Not a damn thing. And then Mew just goes off and then it ends. And I am furious.
Mew switches back.
Then he's like, oh, I'm sad. And then Top's like, I'm sad. And then it cut out. And I was like, I'm fucking mad. We couldn't have gotten 30 more fucking seconds. We're right there. And then we got the trailer for next week. And that looks insane. Oh, so that was the recap.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you ever need a job, you should reach out to MDL.
Thank you. I'll see if they're hiring. Recaps by Shannon.
When I was talking to Shannon earlier, I said that Mew acted from the bar to the bed. And that should tell us a lot about who Mew is.
Yep.
Because I personally do not believe that you can just pull out a performance like that out of nowhere just because you were suddenly wronged, that you turned into a person who could pull off what he pulled off. Like, that's not an everyday thing that he did. It was pretty twisted in its own way, and very vengeful.
I was impressed.
I was impressed because they managed to surprise me, which it's not surprising that they were managing to surprise me, but it was like when they were doing the dancing, he looked so down. I was like, it's your birthday. You should be the happiest one here. Before Ray went insane, but like, it was like, but he looked so down, like he wasn't really dancing that much. He didn't look happy. Like nothing was good. And then I was like, why are you so down when, did you just not like your present? Like exactly what happened? And then when they recapped at the end, or like they showed getting the audio at the end, I was like, oh shit. I was like, wait, and that means the reason he let him go off on all the people is because of that audio.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason he punched him was he was like, yeah, no, you can't actually out my business because I don't want everyone to know this. And he had a plan. So he was like, no, not now. And listen, as soon as it was revealed when he knew it, I was just like, oh, because I agree.
I'm back to, I think there's more to Mew than meets the eye, because the type of person we've been told Mew isn't the type of person who would plan out a revenge scenario seconds of knowing that something went wrong. Like, he could have just lost his shit on Top. Like, that's that person we know, or cried,
he could have just let Ray do the revenge for him.
Right.
He could have done so many different ways in the bar, but he chose to make Top think that he's like so grateful for their time together and blah blah blah, make Top feel good, and then bam. I was just like, what? I was like, that to me is so manipulative in its own right that I cannot see Mew any other way. I don't care.
Top is like, wow, because Desiree like posted the actual thing where it's like, thank you for letting me love this version of myself. I'm like, wow, what a sweet thing to say. And then Mew was like, yeah, fuck you and fuck this.
Also, can I say, Mew has some crafty little hands to be holding top down like that and play that audio.
I know. He must have like a little clicker or something. That's what I was thinking.
I was like, exactly how'd you get that thing to play?
Well, he was
easily.
playing music.
He was
Maybe he had it timed.
Maybe.
When did he have time to edit and splice?
I don't know. Just add it to his music playlist every other song.
It was such a wild. I'm going to start us from the beginning. Okay. When Mew and Top are being cutesy at the pool, there was B, and they're like, anyways, when they're being cute and stuff, and then they're like, what do they say? And it just made me go, Mew, I want to like, he's talking about
it up so we can actually see stuff. Hold on.
Okay. He says,
no, you guys talk. I'm gonna.
Oh, so he says, he goes, maybe we won't be together then. And Top is like, why would you say that? And then he's like, well, I don't know. I'm only stay with people for 3 months. And I was like, yeah, they're being cutesy. Maybe they do maybe Mew really does genuinely just like him and all this stuff. And he's like fallen fully into love. And then he said that, and I was like, no, he doesn't. And then he was like, well, and Top is like, dude, like I've changed all this stuff for you. I don't do drugs. I don't hook up. I like don't do any of this stuff. Like, what more do you want? He says, like, I've stopped all these concrete actions for you, all these actions. So like, what more do you want? And then Mew goes, anyone can say anything. I need to see actions. And I was like, he just listed actions. And I was like, who are you? And that was when I was like, are you shitting? You're at this point in your relationship. And now you're like, I need to see actions over words. I'm like, dude. So I a little bit wanted to fight Mew right there. A lot. I was like,
I did like that he said that it takes time. Like I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something of the effect that like you can stop it now, but it was more like a will it last kind of statement. And I did like that because most of the time that's normally what it is. Will it last?
I feel like though that is a conversation that you bring up prior to the point where they are. Because we had that whole episode before, and then he's like, I love you. And he's like, I love you. And they've actually hooked up at this point and all this kind of stuff. And now he's like, we'll see. I'm like, who are you? What is happening?
It feels like to me, he was getting him to the place where he loved him. And then Mew's like, all right, now I got to keep you on your toes. I got to keep you guessing.
He never lets Top feel secure.
Yes, exactly. That's it. Okay, well, I do want to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say because I think it had something to do with if he's secure. That if he feels secure, then he gets bored,
and he might leave. And he needs him to stay.
Yeah,
he needs him to still continue to chase him.
Because this is from like the very beginning, like from the moment they kind of started this little dance. It has been this way, and and I'm like. Yeah.
He knew who Top was the minute he met Top, and he's always known who Top is. That's the part that like always confused me because I'm like, you are not confused by who this man is, and you're being told even who this man is, and you're choosing to stay in this, and that is interesting to me. Like, there's never been a moment where I'm like, only last episode, but again, last episode didn't feel real. But only last episode did I go, okay. Because I did go back and rewatch it when people were like, no, he's just falling in love. And I'm like, you could see that. You could watch it and see that. Yeah. So I wanted to like give the benefit of the doubt, but also it was confusing. Like, why now is he falling in love? What's different in this moment than all the other moments where he was clocking him and all of the things he does wrong? Someone was like, or there was, I don't know how there were conversations that said that that he had ticked off all the boxes. And I've always for me, the boxes have never made sense from the beginning. I don't even understand what the boxes are to even be concerned with whether they're ticked off or not, because they're nonsense boxes. And I say that, and maybe I don't know if I make sense about that, but it's like, be nice to my friends. It's like the most basic stuff you could want from, like, not even a relationship where you're in love with someone, just basic. Respect me, be nice to my friends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's those boxes.
I always love when it's like, get along with my friends. And it has been a dumpster fire since that with his friend. Like, it's just been, God. And especially Ray. Ray is just dead set on not liking Top.
Well, I, when you say that too, because in this, he says, I have love with my family and my friends. That's why I'm not rushing to be in a relationship. And I'm like, your friends? These friends? You're getting all the love you need from these friends that have been a horror show this whole, like, show? Those friends?
To be fair,
I still wonder if they were better before all this.
Yeah, I think they probably were.
I like, he's like, oh, they get along with he gets along with my friends. And then Ray is like, no, over my dead body will we get along. And then Boston was like, we can definitely get along.
Over my body, we get along just fine.
I was like, yes. Oh God, that whole thing. I did like learning about Mew's moms and like his backstory there. But also, I was like, oh, this is like really cute. This is a really cute story. And then I was like, no, trust you.
I thought it was very interesting that he specifically pointed out that she said that she fell in love with her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have something. It comes in later. I realized a thought I had when I was watching that I'm going to have to say about Mew and Ray. I had a thought. Okay, I'll bring it up now because you mentioned the best friend thing. When they were in the bathroom and then Mew was like, we're going to be friends forever. And I'm like, Ray has consistently fucked up on so many instances. And he's still drinking and doing drugs and making very, very dangerous life choices. And even after the kiss and all this kind of stuff, Mew was just still like, yeah, buddy boy, come here. Like, I really love you. And then Ray gives him this audio and tells everything and then fucks up his whole birthday and ruins relationships for like all of their friends, like makes everything really awkward. They get back to the apartment and Mew was like, I wonder when you and Ray will get along. And
my first was like, what?
I literally had this thought where I was like, I don't think Mew will ever give Ray up. I don't think Mew's ever going to let go of him, because there was the part where Ray was going off and he goes, I took such good care of my Mew. Like, all this time I've taken such good care of my Mew. And he's like, and you're not taking care of Mew. And it just made me think, and I was like, what if, because we know that Boston is pissed about something. He's got some sort of issue with Ray. And I'm just like, what if there is a really weird dynamic between Mew and Ray, something there, and like Mew doesn't want to let go of Ray, because Top keeps going like, why are you still his friend? Why is he still around? He said this so many times. And I will be honest, if I was Top's friend and he was like, yeah, my boyfriend's friend is like this, I'd be like, no, you need to, if you want to have a good relationship with this boyfriend, they have to put in boundaries with this friend. They have to, like, because this has been things that have actually happened with friends I've had. And Boston's like so on the nose with all of this, and Mew's like, oh no, we'll all get along, we'll all be happy. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you and Ray so weird around each other?
So I almost I was just you can go ahead, Kelly.
No, I feel like Mew is keeping them all.
Oh
yeah.
Oh
yeah. So my opinion of how Mew is in particular with Ray, it's like he loves having the adoration of Ray, like the wholeheartedness love that he gets from Ray, even if it's super toxic and he knows that Ray wants more. He knows that if he can keep Ray around, Ray will always love him. And it's just like, all he has to do is keep him around. It's like keeping him on a hook, but not like giving him more than the bait. Does that make sense? So like, he's keeping them all together. And with Ray in particular, he's using the love that Ray has for him to keep him there. So that he can get all the love he wants from Ray and all the adoration that he wants from Ray. But he doesn't have to give anything in return other than attention.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think he wants to stop being Ray's phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have been a problem for Sand Ray eventually.
I think so.
If he's not already.
He's a massive problem for Sand Ray. God. There was a...
If they had a normal relationship, he would be a problem in his own right.
Yeah.
When Sand goes in...
a normal relationship.
When Sand goes to play pool, and then he's like, look, I'm not upset. Like, who you date is your business. So I was like, dude, first off, you are all up in this man's business.
You broke your fucking phone for this man's business.
Like,
it was insane.
With a straight face is like, here's some audio. I'm just worried about Mew. He seems like a really nice guy. And I'm like, you could give two shits about Mew.
That was a double thing.
Yeah, it was against Top and
Top.
And to like mess with Ray a little bit too. Like it was a lot. There was a lot going on there.
Yeah. Oh, but Kelly had an excellent point. Would you like to say, Kelly, about Ray listening to that audio?
Do you know what your friend's sex noises sound like?
No. Well, no.
I thought you were shaking your head. Yes, I was like,
I know. Like, I do know some, but not enough to recognize it on a phone without any context.
He was like, "Is that Boston?" And I was like,
he hands him the phone, and he's just
just
listen. No context at all.
I felt like in it,
no reason why. Yeah, it's my food. There's no reason he should think he's getting a recording of these two. Both of them, he clocked both their noises, not just one, both.
And I thought like in it at some point, like there was a moan or something of someone's name, but there wasn't. No. Trust me, I heard it way too many times, and it did not.
I had to plug Emmy's ears.
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about too? I don't think we mention, and I don't know if this makes sense or is necessary yet, but this whole time Nick knows that Sand had that sound. So, and he did not warn anyone, not Boston, not anyone.
He can't. Nick has to find someone else to take the blame. Nick, right. Like, it is at a point where I'm like, Nick, you better find someone to take the fall who it's reasonable that they would do this.
I wonder if he's gonna try Drake. I was like, I think it's gonna be Drake.
I was like,
Drake.
Yeah, or just pack up your shit that's at Boston's and go, because
I think his only saving grace is that it was audio and not visual.
Yeah,
that is being passed around. I don't know, but I think that is his saving grace.
And he didn't tell Sand how he got it, so he can definitely frame Drake for it.
He better get that recording device on that fucking car. Or what even?
I'm sure he's probably taking it out by now, right?
Does he? Because he doesn't make the best decisions. So I can't really say if he removed that recording device.
But then I remember who I'm talking about.
When Sand gave the audio to Ray, I said, I went, Ray is about to pull some bullshit. And he did. Because
can I just say that Ray spread all that information, right? But not one time did he say how he got that information.
Nope.
He didn't let Boston know. He said, don't worry about it. Like, it doesn't matter how I got it. It exists. That's the problem. And then when he went off at the bar, spewing all the random information, he still did not release any of it. And he knew that it came from Nick. So
no, Sand, did he know it came from Nick?
Sand said, you know who I live with.
Oh, that's right.
Sand
and he targeted Nick.
Who? Yeah. So he didn't release to anyone that he knows who recorded that information.
Oh my!
Or how he got that information.
The thing, when he was going into Boston for things, and he's like, "Oh, you guys," and he was like, "Oh, boyfriends." I was like, "Fuck," because I was like, "This is not aimed at Boston. Like, Boston is not going to be hurt by being like, yeah, we're not boyfriends. It was all at Nick. And then he was like, oh, you think you're special? And then I don't know why the dark room specifically
I was like,
was
that's where he and Ray used to get it on.
Well, because he said you're not the first. I was like, were you the first? Like, why is that important? Why is it important who's the first? My guess is because he doesn't let a lot of people know, like, see his work that he's dalliancing with.
No, he said, did they
he said, I only photograph my favorites.
Yeah, but like, my assumption is that he doesn't let many people in there.
Yeah. So well, I want to know, is Ray on that wall?
Probably.
Well, when he photographed Ray and Mew, one of the first things I said was, which one of those is your favorite?
Which one is your favorite?
Yeah. And the other thing, so this is one of the theories I've seen a lot. This is a bit confusing to me. And I asked people on Twitter to like explain this thought process, because everyone was like, Boston is mad at Ray. And he took out stuff on Ray in the last episode because Top is getting with Mew. And he's mad at Ray because Ray was supposed to get in between Top and Mew so that Boston could have Top. And I was like, this doesn't make sense to me, because Ray has literally been friend zoned for 2 years. How would he think that now is the time he's going to get in between these two? And actually, all of Boston's actions to me have been to cause hurt to Ray. So like telling Ray, hey, I think you have a shot with Mew. You should do it. He doesn't think he has a shot with Mew. He wants Ray to get shot down.
Yep.
He wants Ray to be hurt by this. Like, that was like a lot of, and Boston has consistently just been not fazed by the fact that Top is with Mew still.
He made it clear this episode.
Yeah, I loved some of that Boston logic when he was just like, look, I had it first. I wanted a little bit more. Now they get to be happy. And I was like, what?
He really, it was so wild, because he was just like, why is this a big deal? Like, but part of him, I'm going to be honest, part of him is like, we all know who Top is. So what? Like, if it wasn't me, it's going to be somebody else. Like, this is the logic I think he's using. Like, why are we all acting like Top is somehow this different person?
Just to bring in this kind of reference, at the very end when Mew was talking about it, he specifically said, why did it have to be Boston? Why couldn't it have been somebody else? So, like, he expected him to cheat on him at some point, but he didn't expect it to be with Boston.
I said this as well, and I kept yelling, why do you keep bringing up Boston? Why does Mew always bring up Boston constantly?
Even in his, like, fight or whatever, he specifically said, did he bring up my inexperience? Did he, like, say how much I was like,
right.
I was like, why are you focused on this part of this conversation? What does it matter? It's like, that was before you were sleeping with him. That was actually before you actually agreed to be his boyfriend.
Like, and actually, he brought up that you might be experienced. So that should not be causing you anxiety.
That part.
I swear, he would know that if somebody would explain the fucking situation, but no.
I do think there's something with Mew and Boston. I could be completely wrong, but I think Mew feels some type of way that Boston didn't ever get with him.
Well, Mew didn't really start protecting anybody until he went after, like, to hit Boston.
Also, by the way, I am fully on team Sand and Boston are brothers. Hear me out, because a lot was said in this episode that would like solidify this for me. One, they both are aiming for the US right now. One of their goals is the US and all that kind of stuff. Two, Boston's dad, he's running for politics, all this kind of stuff, but he has the massage parlors, all this other stuff. He kind of has a life where he would have run into Sand's mom and had this kind of happen. And his wife left him and went to New York. Also, Sand and Boston keep making comments to each other where it sounds like they know each other a little better. That first time was like, oh, is this not your usual stuff? And then when Boston and Ray got in the actual fight, Sand yelled at Boston, not at Nick, at Boston, go to your room.
That was such a weird line.
That was so weird.
Yep. And so he was like, okay, and he went, and then so in this episode where I went, maybe their brother's not, we had that connection that his mom's in New York, and I just thought it was like, oh, Sand also wants to get out, is like wants to get to the States, has spoken about this, and now we know that like this is something Boston has been working on as well. And then Sand pulls Ray away when Ray is going at Boston in the very beginning, right when Boston has gone towards Boston Nick. And so I was like, maybe that, or they're secretly boyfriends and they're trying to take everyone else down.
That okay.
And we went to crazy town, like just jump right in. They're fine.
But it was like when you said, when Sand stepped in for Boston, it made no sense, and he physically put his body between Ray, who he's supposed to be in love with, and Boston to protect Boston, not to protect Ray. And Boston in that scene, I was saying earlier, was different. He looked like the Boston who was with Top the first time. He got so small. He got so quiet. He kind of looked like, oh no, this is not what I thought was going to come up this. Like, he didn't know about the recording. He didn't know all this was coming down, you know, or wait, does Boston know?
He knew about the recording by the birthday.
Huh? How did he know?
Boston? Ray yelled at him.
Boston.
Oh God.
Yes.
Yeah. But he seemed to just be surprised that things were going the way they were going, and his body was like, he just was
even
small.
when they were sitting down with the cake, he seemed very contained.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like normally he's like all like lounged back and like just watching, enjoying the show, and this time he seemed very like contained when like they were doing the birthday cake thing.
Yeah,
and I was like, why are you acting like this?
And he didn't engage with Ray. Like he should have been like.
He would watch Ray when the girls were pointing out that he was single or that Top was God tier or whatever. But like he would look at Ray, but he wouldn't like interact with anything.
No, I mean when Ray was burning it down and having his own.
He didn't
look
at
try
Ray.
And make him stop. Yeah. I think from what we know, I don't think Boston wants to hurt Mew like this. I don't think he wanted this to be something that was gonna.
Yeah, but if he wanted to stop him from hurting Mew and like burning the world down, he could have stopped him in general. But I wondered if he thought if he like attempted to stop him, it would turn the wrath on him and then everything would come out. Does that make sense?
But it looks like next week they're going to just blame him anyway, because that seems to be the easy thing for everyone to do.
This is something, the trailer for next week made me wonder about this friend group with Boston. And I'm just wondering if Boston has maybe felt like an outsider to the actual friend group, because that was just something like Ray did so many things to so many of them, but Boston was the one on the outside. So maybe it's Boston's not apologizing. Maybe that's it. Maybe like Ray went around and like apologized to everyone, was like, I'm really fucking sorry, I fucked up, and Boston doesn't do that. Maybe that's what happened, but I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I did notice, like, when we were talking a couple weeks ago about, like, Ray, and when they were down at the beach, and, like, everybody was like, oh, you're such a great guy, like, it's okay, like, that stuff to Ray. But then to Boston, they basically were like, just, you're like a fuck around kind of guy. Like, they had nothing good to say about Boston. But they had so many great things to say about Ray.
The amount of times they called him a slut this episode, I was like, this is not okay. Like, him sleeping around is not a reason to, like, denigrate him. If you're pissed that he cheated, or not that he slept with his friend's not boyfriend, I
don't even know what intended.
Yeah,
it's great, and people get upset when you say that.
Yeah. It's like Mew has every right to be super fucking hurt by it. They also have a right to be like, look, we weren't actually together. That's a shit excuse if you try and come in with it. But it's like this little grayish type thing. But it like, because I was saying Boston has money. Boston is good looking. Boston is all these things. Not a single one of them would refer to him as top tier. Not a single one of them would think he would be a catch. And this keeps happening even with Top, where I'm like, Top hooks up a lot. And the man is he was addicted to drugs. He, had substance abuse issues, all this kind of stuff. And people still thought he was better than Boston. And the only thing I can think is Boston is more vocally honest about his sex life than everyone else. And so it's easier to just be like, oh, he's a hoe or he's this. But what?
His persona.
Yeah. But like Top hooking up every 3 months instead of like every couple days is somehow better.
Yeah. It's worse. It's worse.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, and Top was way worse because he was pretending it was a relationship just to get back out of it as soon as he was bored, versus everybody who walked into a relationship with Boston knew that it was only going to last as long as he was interested.
He was super upfront. He's always upfront about that. Okay, here's the other thing. We have 2 episodes ending the same way. One is Boston burning it down, but he says Sand has a right to know. And it is a bit of a protection of Sand because he's like, you love him. I can tell you are getting into him. You need to know who that really is. Ray is doing the same exact thing to protect Mew, but we hate, and I'm not saying we should like either one of them. I'm just saying the ability to hate Boston, but not Ray, because I had quite a few comments already today where they're like, I can see why Ray did it. Ray was trying to protect Mew. I get where Ray was coming from. And I was like,
what does attacking the lesbians have to do with protecting Mew?
Yeah, thank you.
Wild.
April and Choom did nothing to him.
But think about, that's probably Boston's existence in that friend group. Ray and Boston can do the same exact thing, but Boston's always going to be, because he's kind of a dick about it. He's not cute and cuddly.
He's not apologetic.
Yeah.
He's a douche. He's a douchebag. Like, I've said this so much at the beginning. It's like, he is a douchebag. Ray. But here's the other thing is, Ray is going to apologize. He's going to how many times has Ray apologized for his behavior and the stuff he has done while he's under the influence? And how many times have we seen him go back under the influence and do the exact same dangerous shit? The exact same dangerous shit.
You just unlocked why Ray bothers me so much in those, because that is what happens in addiction. And again, you're going to bring your personal stuff into this show. You can't not. And every time I hear people say, buddy, apologize, I might get enraged. And I can't understand why I get so enraged. And it's because that is what people in addiction sometimes will do. I don't want to say everybody in addiction is the same.
It is very common.
But it's a common occurrence for people in addiction to do the messed up thing and apologize. Do the messed up thing and apologize. And Ray keeps doing that.
And the other thing is, I was like, we watch Ray. God, he does so much self-destructive behavior, and it would be called like self-harm, like his drug use, his alcohol use, the fact that he's getting behind the wheel and all of this. I was like, this is self-harm. This is someone who does not care and is putting himself in all of these ways. But the other way that is still self-destructive is we watched him blow up every single important relationship that we have seen him have. He blew it up that night. That's self-destructive behavior again. And so I'm looking at him. I get really worried. And I get worried because in my experience, when someone is at this point where they are blowing up all of those relationships, really dangerous behavior is going to come. Like, this is when people hold interventions. This is when people say, you have to do something now because we are really afraid that you're not going to make it. It's that kind of point. That's the type of behavior I'm seeing.
Even Mew was like, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're not going to live to be 30.
Yes, he said, that was oof.
That was really.
I was like, and I've watched, and so I understand this could be an incredibly superficial show, and we're just bringing a lot of personal stuff into it. But I have watched so many people with addiction issues, various kinds of addiction issues, and even I won't say basic, but the most low key addiction of just lying to people. The inability to stop lying to people. And one of the first things that it always is that they learned that if they apologize, they can continue like a reset and keep going. But that doesn't stop them. It just gives them enough leeway until the next thing that goes wrong. And they might have every intention to stop, but that doesn't mean that they will stop. It just means that they had maybe the intention to stop, or they just didn't want to lose the person that they were talking to. But that doesn't mean anything. And I mean, my spouse in general, he used to have an issue where he would fuck up and then he would say like, I'm sorry or whatever. And at one point in our relationship, it was like, I no longer believe anytime you say you're sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry means nothing to me until I start actually seeing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be better.
And that, it's so interesting you say that, because that kind of, it reminds me of the beginning conversation with Mew with Top, when he was like, well, you can say anything, it's about actions. And so it's just so, all of this coming together, and how like Ray is, it's odd to me to see Mew using that type of language with Top. Because I'm like, he probably learned this from his relationship with Ray, but then to see him not do that with Ray.
Yeah.
That's
like
so
he just constantly
it's so crazy.
It's so confusing.
And it's, I said on my reaction at the point where Ray goes, I liked you with glasses. I said, this is heartbreaking to watch. Their relationship is difficult for me to watch at this point, because it's just, the whole episode, anxiety. Everyone was just anxiety. I was like, this, I don't know how this is going to go. And you're all freaking me out. But Ray, whenever he's interacting with people, I was just like, I don't think that Ray is ever going to handle one of these situations. And I didn't think he was going to deliver this info in a calm or appropriate manner. And he didn't.
No.
Like, also, not just because the show. Oh, sorry. What?
Oh, I was going to say, even Boston, when he went off on Ray, drugs and alcohol involved. Like, it was once again these situations. And I even said, I was like, I don't think it was wrong to tell Sand that info. I think how he told him that info was wrong. And it is right there with Ray too, where I'm like, I don't think it was wrong to tell Mew. I'm glad Mew knows that was not the way to go about this.
Well, the thing with Ray that's even weirder for me is he told Mew in the right way. But then but here's the thing though. He didn't blow
like the blow up wasn't him telling Ray. Like, or he wasn't telling Mew with the blow up. He had already told Mew.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
I'm with you.
He did it in a calm way. He contained it. So why was he throwing a powder keg on everyone? Like, his makes even less sense than Boston. Boston was trying to warn Sand. What was he doing? He had already warned Mew. Why did he need to tear all of his friends down and do what he did so publicly? It was at a bar. Boston's was at least in a room in a house. Like, what was that?
Yeah, something set him off.
I think it was the start of the spiral. I think one of the first things in the start of the spiral is that they start attacking themselves. So like,
but also it was the fact that he told Mew this info and Mew went out and danced with Top.
Yes, I was about to say it. You said it.
Yep. Because he was singing on the stage.
Yes.
While they were dancing.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna say it again. Sam, lock down your freaking mic, okay?
Okay, so I do want to say one thing too. If I'm right about the different perspectives for each episode based on the outro, it blew my mind that Top was in the outro, number one. But it also explains some,
He didn't narrate it.
There's no pattern.
I know, but I thought it was interesting that he was the focus at the end, but he didn't narrate anything.
But I still think it's his perspective, even though he's not narrating. Okay, yeah.
Which is why I think Ray's blow up was so.
That's what I was getting at. Sand. Everyone's confused with Sand in this episode, but Top hates Sand. Sand was the worst in this episode than we've ever seen him. He turned into like a maniacal, mustache twirling villain all of a sudden, and everybody's like, what happened to Sand? He's smashing his phone. Can you imagine? So if we take the court scenario, because that's the one I like the best of the theories. And, you know, something happened and they're all giving testimony. I just imagine this episode now that I saw Top at the outro of him giving his testimony. And then Sand, he smashed his phone. He's so evil. You know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
Absolutely unnecessary. Everything that Sand did in this episode was banana nuts. Like, what are you doing? But also, like, his stuff with Mew, he like, and then he tricked me, and I just wanted to love him. And you know what I mean? Like, if I take it as Top and all of these people's actions based on how Top feels about him, everything makes more sense.
Yep.
But then it's also interesting that Chom reappears, because then that makes me think, what does Top know about Chom? Because she's been gone for 2 episodes. She came back.
I also thought it was very interesting that she suddenly had an issue with her girlfriend.
Yes.
I was like, we found out about the issue, and then it got blown up to where now the girlfriend knows about the issue at the end. And I was like, all in the same episode. And I was like, they couldn't have hinted that at the beginning?
Well, I feel like if it's his perspective and this is his testimony or whatever, then he's connected to one of them because he needed to have, because some of their conversations were just them, right?
Yeah.
So he has to have connection with all those people that were focused on this episode.
Why does she love Top so freaking much? Like, maybe they are connected.
He seems
every time he's
here, and I'm very confused why.
But she has no substance. She has no substance when she says it. It is literally the same words. He's top tier. He's rich and handsome. He's top tier. And I'm like, this, what?
Yeah, when didn't she compare, I'm pretty sure, sorry, this is fuzzy in my brain. Didn't she, when she was talking to Boston about locking down Nick, she said, why can't you be godlike like Top or something like that? Like, somehow Boston was being related to Top.
Again.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want a relationship.
Like, I'm not trying to date anybody. What are y'all doing?
Something that makes me a little bit like, oh, I wonder, like, what is going on with Boston in his head about this? Oh, there was 2, by the way, an identical conversation that happened in this episode that happened in a previous episode. Nick and Boston have a conversation in the car, and Boston goes, I will understand if you like Top because he's top tier. He's all these things. And I always thought that's so wild that Boston would just be like, yeah, you can tell me you like him. I get it. But Sand and Ray had a conversation this episode, and Sand was like, I get why you would like Mew. He's this, and this, but it didn't seem super sincere. Boston's was like, yeah, dude, I get it. That's a fine hunk of a man. And Sands just seemed very like, oh, yeah. It was manipulating. He wanted Ray to give this info over. But it was interesting to me that it was an identical conversation again in this episode.
Well, even I personally found it interesting that even Ray kind of called him out on that, though. Because, like, he held on to the ball. He's like, exactly what are we talking about here? Like, why is this conversation happening?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, and I thought that was interesting because he like actually called it out versus like, he's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, those are reasons that I like him, but why are we talking about this? Like, what are you getting out of this conversation?
Mm-hmm. But it was interesting because if it's a mirrored conversation, that was when Nick goes, well, what do we tell people we are? It's just interesting that it was such a mirrored conversation, and one conversation ended with him putting a recording device in the car, and this conversation ends with him handing over the recording.
Right.
You know, I just realized with the idea of Top being his assumption POV, that would explain why Sand was so willing to give up on Ray and let him go to Mew, because Top doesn't think Sand can hold on to his man.
Nope.
Interesting. What's interesting to me, and Boston didn't feel he was a weird villain this episode.
He was different.
Who?
Boston.
Yeah.
Boston.
He was almost small, not important.
Yes, and what did we say when in that picture? I said it and didn't hear myself. I said at the end of this, Boston was small. It like he looked small, like he did in the picture with Top. That's the only time I've seen Boston look small, and here he looks small.
It's so interesting. I will be excited if it's a POV.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I really can't wait
to not being with how they keep throwing in the narrating. I feel like it has to be related to their POV. Like it just, I don't see. Also, the song changed at the end and it threw me off.
Yeah,
that did throw me off. By the way, I was like,
"What's happening?" Great song, well done, but like, it threw me off.
Yeah.
Also, finally, this was an episode where Mew and Top's interactions made sense. I was like, ha! You are now responding in a way that makes sense to me.
But it's finally their point of view. Like it's Top's point of view. And Top maybe sees Mew more than all these other people do, right? Or he got to see Mew for the first time in this interaction. So we're getting like a more valid. But he might also be a little more villainous if Top's feeling some kind of way. You know what I mean? Maybe it wasn't so dastardly.
I'm going to have to go right at an hour because for some reason my phone isn't charging. It's still losing charge. And I think I'm going to just make it.
Okay. No, that's no problem.
Right.
I think we hit a lot of good stuff.
We hit a lot of things. Probably not everything, but we never hit everything. So
no, I need to go back and rewatch. Honestly, there's so much happening. I really also, what was one of the things we said? The way the episodes ended, I think they're pretty important to me because one, there's a blow up. The last 2 episodes, there's this big blow up, and then it's 2 people go off. We're not even, because we even saw Boston and Nick. Actually, that kind of broke my heart for both Boston and Nick. Seeing them in that together, I was just like, oh, like I didn't
humanity this episode. Whether people I don't think many people cared, but we got to see it.
It was just the part I just felt bad because I'm not rooting for them to be a couple, but I'm like, man, I don't want you guys to get torn down this way. It is hard to watch both of you.
I'd rather watch you guys like destroy yourselves, but not like
other people.
This was hard.
Yeah, it was. And then, when he's in the bed and then he takes Nick's arm away and he rolls over on his side. That is what Sam did to Ray the last episode.
Mm-hmm. They're so similar, and people get so mad when I say
it. but it is they're also similar.
Ray Boston.
It is, man, it's so crazy. What was the other thing? But I cheered for Mew. I was like, there he is. Welcome to the show. We knew you were there. He was there in episode 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, one.
I was like, there's his.
Right?
Yeah.
What?
He narrated 1. He was 1.
He narrated 1.
And I was like, I was like, that's the Mew who took that book down in the bookshop and had Top by it. I was like, this is that guy. There we go.
The most so who did 2 again? Was that Ray?
Everyone. That was just the interviews.
That was the reality TV one.
So the people who can see, Mew knows who he is. Top has seen who he is. And those are the 2 people right now who really understand what Mew's about. And he's been a confusion in every other one because no one really sees him. They can't see who he really is. And so when they tell their perspective, it's all weird and off.
Yeah, because in Ray's perspective, Mew is just the sweet little bubblegum fluffy man who's like, I'm gonna save you. And I was like, this just looks genuinely like a normal relationship with friends. And Ray's like, I'd die for him. I was like, okay. Okay, Ray. I cannot. When Ray went off on Mew, and then I was like, oh no, he's about to like tear into Mew, and then he's just like, I love you, Mew. I was like, whoa.
See, if he would have started that with that and then moved into like the rage of others, it would have made sense. But he went from rage, unnecessary lesbian rage, to to like mad, to like I love you, mad, anger, blow it all up, and I'm like,
and the lesbians issue wasn't that bad.
Like a little love pause, like what's happening?
And when you say it that way, it's almost like he was like furious at Mew because he was like mad at him for
immediately acting on what he had provided.
Yeah, like exactly. why aren't you letting yourself be treated better? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I'm like, dude, you just gave this man the info. It is his fucking birthday. Also, I want to point that out. I knew that Ray was going to turn over this info at an inappropriate time. And that was an inappropriate time to hand over that info. I know
what Ray has against birthdays. That's 2 birthdays he's destroyed.
Oh my God. Oh man.
I had a moment where I was like, I feel so bad for Sand because this birthday is so opposite to his. And then it ended in a dumpster fire. I was like, look at that. We're right on track. We're 2 for 2.
Well, I think because Ray feels like he was born a burden, right? Like literally came into this world a burden. Yep. I'm sure
doesn't care about birthdays.
A trigger for him.
But also, never mind. There are some people in life who do not handle it well when there are big moments and the attention is not on them.
Yep.
Facts. Got it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Understood.
Yeah.
So I will say, Sand's birthday I don't think had anything to do with that.
No, however, Sand's birthday was
off.
Yeah. That was reactionary issues.
Ooh, if that's Sand's point of view and their brothers, I'm just running with all these theories. Maybe he just sees him as that little brother who's always just a problem. He blows everything up. He's in everyone's business. He's like, you were just doing what you always do. You're the problem child. You know what I mean? Because even painted Boston real ugly that episode.
But even that, it wasn't like one of the interesting things about that episode to me was that Boston, no matter when he's being painted ugly, he's not painted as like a grasshopper just almost made contact. He doesn't paint it. Boston never really is able to be painted as like this true, crazy, awful, evil villain because he's just honest up front. So it's just people being pissed at all the things that he's openly telling everyone he's doing. But the interesting thing to me was in that fight, he goes, Sand has a right to know. That just stuck out so
why
much.
Do you care about Sand so much?
I was like, what does Sand have to do with that? Also, I would like to just note that Boston did say that a lot of it had to do with
the drugs.
With the drugs. That's why he went off the way he did. Because I was surprised that Nick was calling him out. He's like, you really probably shouldn't have done that. Like, maybe not like that. And he's like, well, it was probably the drugs. I was just like
so flippant about it. He's like, come on, guy. We were eating cookies. And Nick's like, you were not eating cookies.
The way he approaches all of it always is always like, yeah, I know. You know when that happens, it's like, no, Boston.
No, I don't think.
It's not normal. What you're
doing. Even when Ray is like, how could you do this to your friend? He's like, dude, you know what it's like. It's like, no, Boston. No.
He's
like,
we don't know.
Oh my God. If this is Top's
POV.
Perspective, then of course he just needed one more time of course Boston needed to get with him just one more time. Because he's Top.
I hate Top.
I feel bad because technically he's done nothing like outside of a normal guy, but I'm like, I just don't like you.
He
like,
just has
not my vibe, man.
Not my vibe at all. And he's got that wealthy rich boy type of.
But good job, part. Force. You made me dislike you. Which,
I know.
It's hard to do.
Who was it? I was on a live with Chaos, and they were like they were describing like the Princeton.
Yes.
And they said Speary wearing, and I was like, Speary's. All you have to say is Speary's, and I'm like, I know.
I know instantly.
Like
yes.
Oh my God! But that's who
they're the ones who are like. They're the ones who are like. I'm going to need you to Venmo me $2 for that water bottle I bought you. And you're like, or no, they don't even say that. You guys like hang out as friends. And then later on you get a Venmo request for $2 for a water bottle they bought you. And you're like, okay.
It's that moving through the world with entitlement that everyone owes me. Like, just,
yeah.
But you notice he did a woe is me moment where like his family's always too busy to always working. He was always left alone. He could do whatever he wanted. But now that he heard the lovely life that Mew had, he wishes that he would have had the warmth and comfort of a family. I was like, what?
This is so interesting because I'm like, I should feel bad for you and stuff like this. I really, really should. But all I've seen from Top is someone who has had all of this money, all of this privilege, all this stuff, and then just been like, yeah, I have. That's right. Look at me use it.
He didn't want love until now. So like,
literally the moment he talked to Ray.
Why do you not have friends? I need to know.
None. He hangs out with his dealer.
Insane.
You remember when he was like alone with his dealer? That needs to be said, guys. This was not a party. This was alone with his dealer. And then when he's telling Mew and he's like, "It's the first time I've like felt emotions for a person when I've hooked up with them. Like I care about you." And I was like, that you saying that is not. I don't think that's what you think it is. No, because at least Boston and Ray, both of those two are like Boston's always like, yeah, I really like you, Nick. You're like my favorite. And Ray is like, I am in love with you, Mew. I have all the feelings. And so it's like, okay, these people don't have to care about another person
outside of his friends.
Yeah.
Also, like their level of addiction is similar too, because you've got Ray who's like lines up a toilet, and you've got Mew whose dealer hangs out with him while he does lines by himself at home. I mean, Top. Like,
yeah.
Also, does his dealer work at that bar? Huh? Does his dealer work at that bar?
I wonder if the dealer is Yo's boyfriend.
I wonder too.
Yeah, I was wondering.
He just hangs out at the bar. He just hangs out at the bar and was talking to Yo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And every time we've seen him, Guy has been there in the bathroom. The fact that he walks down that stall and Mew immediately is like, "Did you get high?"
Because he knows that's what he does.
He said drunk first, and then he was like, "Wait, are you high?"
And then blank stare, blink.
Oh,
he was throwing.
Yeah.
Throwing drinks back. I was like, honestly, all of these friends, I get it. They're young.
I just realized
all this stuff. But I was like, they're
on stage watching that entire conversation.
And may I just say, were none of them raised in households where you had to learn to watch other people's emotions and behaviors to learn how to handle the situation? Because none of them fucking Ray throwing back drink after drink. I was like, none of you grew up in bad homes. They don't
have the same type of trauma that the rest of us do. So.
I was like, I'm just saying, if I'd been there, I would have been like, what? Nope, not for me. Something's about to happen. That's not good. Because you could, there were so many signs.
But I don't, guys, I just in the conversations I've had, I don't think there's a ton of people that come from that kind of experience. And I'm sad that we all know these things.
Why would you say that to us?
But I said,
I was like, I'm pretty confident they don't have the same trauma responses that we do.
Yeah, it has been educational for me to realize, because I'm just like, well, yeah, because the so-and-so. And then I'm like, oh, y'all don't, that's not the first place your mind goes?
The moment April, like, it's weird. Like, it's complete outsider. The moment April turned around and said, except for Ray's still single. I was like, man, do you not see that man just knocking back drinks? Like, I need you to just ignore Ray for a minute. Just, April, ignore Ray. Can we talk about the clip for next week, though, before we get off?
There's one thing I wanted to say that I think is a little bit funny. Just want to say,
go ahead.
If I had been there, Ray would never have been able to get to the point to explode because I'm sorry, I've been through a few things. If there's one thing I know how to do, it's defuse someone like that when I see it happening. You wouldn't have fit in the bathroom to be able to do it. You could see the signs coming that more was about to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have allowed him on stage. I was like,
I've had to learn that I don't have to be that person.
Yeah, why was he on stage? What the hell?
He was singing.
I know,
he
was
but singing.
Why?
And then he's like, "Can I use the mic?" I was like, "You've already been using the damn mic." Like,
yeah,
we're past that point.
When he said that, I was like, "Oh no!"
It's like, did we not learn about the last time somebody talked to Mew from the mic?
And guys,
like,
you can turn off the mic, okay?
Turn off the
Which
mic.
did not need to stay on.
The trailer, though, my favorite part of the trailer was Mew coming out of the water. That was my favorite part. This is my favorite part. I was like, yeah. Now we're cooking. I've been waiting for this Mew. I've been waiting since the first episode for this guy.
Yeah, I also think it's going to be in his POV.
Is it? Yeah, I was going to say.
Better be. I want it in his or Boston's, the next one. I think those would be the most interesting.
Boston, this is how I imagine him waking from the depths of hell tomorrow.
He would, though. I don't think Boston I don't know. Does Boston underestimate Mew? He might. He talks like he does, but
I think he's the only person who does not underestimate Mew. Who's always like, he's more than he says he is. Oh, did he do this? Did all this other stuff happen?
I think Mew thinks that he underestimates him, though.
Yeah, Mew's like, oh, were you guys talking about my lack of experience? He's like, he's telling everyone
distinct opinions on what everybody thinks about him.
Yeah.
But yes.
Oh, I gotta get
okay.
What was the thing you wanted to discuss?
I was just gonna say him coming out of the water freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I was like, it was fascinating and frightening.
That would be a really great Boston POV.
that actually excites me. I'm happy with either one, but that one sounds fun. Okay, God, I keep hitting my chopsticks. Okay, we need to end. But it was another super fun week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back next week. Yay! Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.